Welcome to Uncharted and Unfiltered, the journey back to you. I am Cynthia Jamieson, your host, and this is where we break free from the noise and dive deep into what truly matters you. If you're tired of the shoulds, the expectations, and the pressures to fit into a mold that doesn't serve you, you're in the right place. This isn't a podcast about easy answers or sugar coated advice. This is your invitation to reclaim your path, embrace the unknown, and become the bold, unapologetic version of yourself that's been waiting to show up. It's time to get unfiltered. Let's get started. Hello. I want to invite you before we begin to take a breath with me. Just inhale slowly and then exhale gently. Welcome back. Welcome back to Uncharted and Unfiltered, a journey back to you. This isn't just a podcast. It's a space. It's a remembering, a reclamation, a return, if you will, to the most honest version of who you are as a leader, as a human, and as a soul in motion. I am Cynthia, and today I want to talk to you about the ego, not as something to conquer, which is usually what we do, but as something to befriend, to understand, and even to outgrow. Because the most potent leadership doesn't come from controlling the ego, it comes from being aware of it, holding it gently, and letting the outdated pieces of it fall away again and again and again. Now, last week, I shared how I have been working with my mind so that I can show up in my stories from my own home. And again, I know I said last week that might sound small, but it brought up a loud internal voice that reminded me that I was to be seen and not heard. Now, this is something that is not new to me. This is in my way of being, in my human life. It feels ancient. It was patterned. It came from my earliest childhood memories. And two things about this. I noticed over this past week, between last week's episode and this one, that that pattern lived right in the walls of my home, and the fact that it showed up in my home. And I'm like, oh, of course, that's why it made it so much harder for me to be able to execute on what it was that I wanted to do. And so I realized two things: that I wasn't just carrying the conditioning that was true, but also what was true is I was still reinforcing it in my own mind. And so I did the only thing that I could. I showed up. I witnessed myself. I held myself. Now, I used breath work before, during, and after those recordings. And that is when the truth landed for me, which is this notion that, and I've said this before on the podcast and it bears repeating, there is no problem. It's only a problem when we make it a problem. And the ego is not the problem. It's only a problem when we fear it, when we shame it, or when we forget that we are allowed to evolve past it. And sometimes loving ourselves means allowing a part of our ego to die every damn day. Now, I want to share a conversation with you, not a conversation, but the essence of a story. And it is a conversation that I had with a powerful client of mine. And just imagine a strong, grounded leader stepping into her voice. And yet, as she reflected on her growth, something unexpected came up for her, of course. So when we were coaching into it, she remembered being 4 years old, sitting at a table, mixing dried beans in egg cartons. You probably, depending on how old you are, you might know when this was happening. But she was sorting them, she was playing, and she was learning. And then all of a sudden, she remembered where she was told that she was, quote unquote, wrong for something. And just like that, a moment of what is innocent creativity became an imprint on her being, on her soul, on her as a leader, as a human. And that moment planted such a seed that has shaped her sense of safety, her expression, her belonging. And even now, as a high impact professional, she can still feel the echoes of that message, which is underneath all of that. Like in the subconscious, it's like, don't do it wrong. Don't get messy. Don't trust that your way, that you have a way forward. And in our work together, she was able to reclaim this part of herself. She realized that it's okay for her to mix the beans and to follow her rhythm, to lead with empathy and curiosity, to not have it all figured out, and to still make such a beautifully powerful impact. And that is what self-leadership is. That's what transformation looks like, is this daily ego death, a very small but also sacred return. And what's interesting, I mean, in coaching, you never know where you're going to go because you don't know where all of the things are connected. And so you have to be willing to go where you need to go in service of the client. And so this brings me to this idea, like, what is ego really? And your ego is the identity that helps you move through the world. It gives you structure, it gives you roles, it gives you language, and it creates that sense of I am. But when the ego starts to protect more than it empowers, in both my case and in my client's case, we get stuck. And the ego will say, like, I am strong, I am capable, I am responsible, I am the one who always delivers. And those might have been true. They might have served you, but are they still? Are they still true? Or is there something truer trying to emerge? Leadership means checking in. It means asking, what part of me am I clinging to because it feels familiar? And what might happen if I let that part soften or fall away or transform or transmute into something else? And that's the daily practice. That's the invitation because our ego can help and hurt us. So I want to bring this home a little bit more. This is a little bit more about me. My Taurus sun helps me build, sustain, and hold space. And I value integrity and I value depth. When I think about the clients that I work the best with, it's the clients that have the willingness, the openness to go to the subterranean, to have a look at what's there, to explore it, to see what it is that is in their way and how else they can look at that with love and acceptance so that they can decide for themselves what they want to do from a choice perspective. Now, my Aquarius rising challenges me to look ahead, to build big visions that don't fit into boxes, to trust the new way, not just the known one. And my Sagittarius moon gives me the emotional fire to explore, to reflect, and to speak my truth with courage. It says, let's go deeper, let's go wider, let's go free, and let's share all of this on the internet so that everybody can learn from it. And those placements, so I'm learning, I'm speaking a little bit about astrology here. I am absolutely not a knower of astrology, I am a dabbler in it. But all of these placements have taught me about myself. They've taught me about presence, about vision, and they've taught me about expansion. And even the most supportive traits can become rigid identities if we don't examine them. Our strengths can become cages. So I am asking myself, what version of me is ready to be released? And I am inviting you to do the same. And there's something uniquely important, or it feels uniquely important to say in this moment, because last week was the summer solstice, and Tuesday, the day that this podcast drops, and Wednesday this week are really amazing days to create and set intentions for what it is that you are wanting to bring out into the world. And for me, what I'm wanting to bring out into the world is more truth. It's more truth, it's more awareness, it's more choice. And so it's really important for me to be able to communicate what is happening, quote unquote, behind the scenes in service of your growth. Like take whatever you can get from here, take what serves and throw the rest in the bin. Now, Also, I want to just zoom out for a moment because I want to talk about the world versus the inner world, because there is a lot going on in the world right now. And the biggest message that I keep receiving is don't get distracted by what's going on out there. Return to what's happening in here, inside of you. Your external life reflects your internal reality. And if you want to change your outer world, the work begins inside your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, your beliefs. And so asking yourself, what needs to shift in me? What version of me is still operating from old programming? What part of my leadership is ready to mature? Because the world doesn't transform from fear, it transforms through love, and it starts with you. Now, the ego isn't the problem here. Actually, I think the ego is a portal. The ego will tell you to stay the same. We know that. We can expect that. But your intuition will whisper to you, it'll nudge you, and sometimes it'll like really push you. It's like it's time to grow. And I want to have you imagine just let the fear come up. Let resistance show itself, but don't let it lead. So often we just want to like distract ourselves and get on to the next and not sit with any uncomfortable feelings. And what I have been noticing is when you sit with those uncomfortable feelings, there's so many beautiful, beautiful nuggets of wisdom that you can see perhaps in the very first time and take with you for the rest of the journey. And it gives me so much joy to be able to do this for myself, to be able to do this for my clients, to help them reclaim those parts of themselves that needed a little witnessing, that needed a little bit of love. And what I have invited all of them to do is instead, when you think about the ego, hold it like a little child. Thank it for trying to protect you and let it soften. Share with it that, like, you're safe now, you're ready. Every day, allow something old to die so something truer can rise within you. And that's the inner work of the leader. That's the daily ego death. That is the revolution that you are here at this time in this place to lead for yourself. So, I want to offer a few tools for working with the ego. Just invitations. I always extend invitations. You get to decide if you RSVP to them. But imagine having a daily ego check in where you could ask yourself, what did I cling to today that no longer fits? Or what version of me did I perform that felt misaligned? Because performing isn't going to feel good unless you're doing it like on a stage and you love to do that. What might I let go of with grace? And maybe that's the beating yourself up, right? There are a couple of reflection prompts that I would offer. When did I silence, or when and where did I silence myself as a child? That's what I noticed within me. That's a beautiful, beautiful reflection that I've taken from my own inner work. What memory am I still making decisions from? That is such a huge one to have discovered this last weekend. Like to see for myself with such ownership and such responsibility and love that I was still making a decision to not be seen and heard from my own home. And that I had the ability to make a different decision from a different place, from a different memory. And so, what outdated identity am I ready to retire? We talk about retiring all the time, but we never talk about outdated identities and how they can retire. And the practices that I love for myself, I mean, you get to choose what works for you, you know you best, but breath work, even something simple as that inhale, that exhale, to connect to the life force that is within you. Grounding practices. I have an allergy, so I can't put my feet on the grass, or I get these little tiny prickly things that just make it incredibly hard to sleep. They they itch like nobody's business. But grounding practices. Now I can do that in the sand, I can do that on the concrete. I actually have some grounding mats for actually I'm just reminding myself now where I can pull that out and put that underneath my desk. And we actually have a grounding sheet on our bed. It's amazing. It really does help you with regard to grounding. And the other practice that I'm really inviting my clients and myself to lean into is this compassionate self-dialogue, because it's through that method of having conversation with various parts of ourselves that we are able to reclaim our leadership from the inside out, which is a beautiful thing. So maybe today is the day that you get to mix the beans. Maybe today is the day that you reclaim the part of you who was told that she or he was wrong, and remind her or him that you were never wrong, that you were always intuitive, that you were whole, that you were ahead of your time. And so let this be your invitation, if you will, to let something die every day, to let love lead, to remember that the world needs your voice, your vision, your truth, not the version of you that plays small. You're not too late. You're not behind. You are already becoming exactly who you came here to be. And lead yourself from love. You are the guide you've been waiting for. Take care, and I'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week. I hope that you're walking away feeling more aligned with your true self, more confident in the choices ahead, and ready to leave the safe path behind, knowing you've got everything you need within. Remember, the journey to you isn't about finding one perfect direction. It's about trusting yourself enough to explore all of it. If you're ready to dive deeper, join me for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss the next step on your path. I invite you to join my mailing list at www.cynthiajamiesoncoach.ca, where we'll deepen our relationship and you can claim your copy of Your Inner Compass, a guide to charting your course to authenticity. Until next time, stay unfiltered, stay true, and most importantly, stay you.